Certainly was not one of those ones. That's right.
Did you ever figure out what all the issues were?
Well, we tried everything today to be able to make sure that we had all the pieces and parts together. That's our hopes that we're good to go.
The structure of the meeting.
Yeah, that's just signatures.
So that's right.
We'll talk to Michelle and figure out what she wants with that. But I think that would probably be fine. It says I'm connecting.
It says joining. Oh, it's like you're in here.
There's Chris. Ready?
I think we are.
Okay, call this meeting to order at 7:05 p.m., November 17th. Chairman Wells is not able to be here tonight, so I will be running the meeting in his stead. Vice Chair Davis. Let's rise for the pledge. Ready? Begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. All right, you'll see a slight change to the way we normally do things here. We'll start with the consent agenda. So if you want to take a look at that.
Just so we know, everybody is aware, this was a new learning at the Oregon School Boards Association conference, that as we look at approving the agenda or making modifications to the agenda, if we pull items out of the consent agenda, that is a modification. If we wait until later in the meeting to do that, we're changing the agenda later in the meeting. And so it's a way of just putting it all at the front end. So that was Michelle's new learning. Or one of her new learnings.
Well, I would like to make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented in our packet.
We have a motion to approve.
Second.
It's been seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? 4-0 with one absent. Passes. All right, in that case, on to the student government report. Ms. Mode.
Hi. Sorry I wasn't at the last meeting at the volleyball meeting. So I have a lot to report on. It's been a while. So we had our whole homecoming week, which was really successful. We had our parade with the floats, and that was a big success with all the schools. We had our spirit days, high participation, our mess assembly, where our lovely Mr. Henderson agreed to be pied in front of the whole school, so we were able to be there. That was really cool.
I saw that on the webpage.
Yes, it was really fun. We had our dance, which had approximately 80% of our student body attend, which is a higher number than we've had in years, which is really exciting. And then our homecoming court changes were received pretty well from our student population. We're going to keep that change for this winter formal dance we're having in January. We had haunted halls, we had 300 guests, and ASB split the profits down the middle. So ASB got half, and then the other half went to the 5 clubs and activities that participated in the rooms. So they got some money from that, which was really good. We had our Veterans Day assembly, and we did a small change just because we didn't have our choir. We had everybody sing the national anthem together as a school, and that went over really well. And I think we're going to keep that as a tradition now. We had our blood drive just yesterday. We had 46 units donated. It went really smoothly, and I'm doing another one in the spring with walk-ins welcome. So if anybody wants to join from the community, they are welcome to. And then ASB just wanted to publicly thank everyone who voted on the bond/levy for the school district. We really appreciate that. We love the community supports our school so much. And then our upcoming events, we don't have a lot for the rest of this trimester, but our Deck the Halls Winter Holiday Spirit Week will be in December before we go to break, and we're just starting to get things rolling. Any questions for me or ASD?
Yeah.
That's all I have. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Awesome.
And we had no green cards for public comment, so we move on to reports. Association report, PEA. Dr. Cerny.
So I just wanted to say, PEA would also like to express its gratitude to the voters of Philomath for the operating levy. It is a huge boost to our schools, and we very much appreciate it.
Awesome. Thank you. OSEA, do we have a OSEA up here today? No? Okay, we will move on to superintendent's report.
And albeit a little bit late, my report was uploaded into the portal. My first thing was also about the levy and the appreciation for the work being done to be able to make that happen, and how much that was appreciated. I'm just going to try and find it here to share it really quickly. You can do it, little buddy.
Always good to give words of encouragement to
Yeah,
your electronics.
Your electronics to make them roll. There we go.
There we go.
Oh, Michelle, can you enable screen sharing, please? Thank you.
I think you do that on, let me see.
There should be,
Oh, make co-host. I don't think I need to be co-host.
there we go, thank you. We're going to have information tonight about, we had our work session to talk about the report cards, and we talked about the notion of everyday information being able to be our best guide. And so we have some individuals from different schools in the district to be able to share with us in just a little bit this evening, and I'm glad to have them there. Highlight Clemens Primary School. I've talked before about the Center for Educational Leadership. That's been a contract that LBL has provided to our leadership within the region. And the visitations that happen with administrators across schools took place yesterday at Clemens Primary School. And so Mrs. Couture led the charge with individuals from our regional area being able to visit classrooms at Clemens. And so we appreciate the teachers letting us into their space and Abby for being able to set that up and make it happen. Paid Leave Oregon is a newly approved law that Jennifer will have some information when we get to the finance report to answer some questions about that. That is about 12 weeks of paid leave for qualifying events. There's two opportunities for getting involved. The one is the Oregon PLO, or Paid Leave Oregon Trust Fund. For that, contributions would begin in January 2023, with benefits being available in September of 2023. The reason for the early contributions is to build a base in the Oregon Trust Fund. Districts have the opportunity to craft an equivalent, of which that's what we're looking at, is being able to look at an equivalent plan option, most likely working with American Fidelity, to be able to begin our contributions in September 2023, and also begin in September 2023 the disbursement for any qualifying events. It's a total of 1% of the employee's current wages, and 40% of that, or at least 40% of it, is paid by the employer, and 60% or less is paid by the employee. And so that will be new for us and new for businesses and entities around Oregon. We've got Jason Hay here this evening from LBL, who will be sharing some information with us as well. I will see him tomorrow because we have a regional superintendent's meeting. And just like to express how much I appreciate the involvement. I think we've seen each other more this week than we have in a while, because they were here yesterday to meet with us about a full visit about our services and what we're accessing and some things like that. And so I appreciate the relationship, and I appreciate the support we get from LBL. We've sent information out to our families and to staff about RSV, which is all the respiratory viruses and the things that we're looking at needing to be attentive to, and watching out for illness. And so we're really trying to be thoughtful in that way. This past weekend, the Oregon School Boards Association annual conference was awesome. It was nice to have some board members in attendance who were able to be there, and you always pick up something. It's great. We've got 2 more COVID vaccine clinics. One is tomorrow and one is December 16th. We met as a joint board with Kings Valley Charter School and wanted to alert the board that we have scheduled our meeting, as we talked in the work session, for this upcoming Monday, to be able to engage in the nuts and bolts dialogue of things that we promised we would do. So we've set that up and are moving forward. We've talked about Synergy, the new student information system, and we're going to have an initial gathering for our school registrars and other key people on Friday, December 2nd, as an optional gathering for people to be able to learn more as we move forward. Long-range facility planning, we've done our site visits, which is great. The school traffic safety study met. There's the information about the areas of concern, the top areas of concern identified by the group. We're waiting for a report from the consulting firm to be able to get back to know kind of what next steps are. And I put information in about the pre-kindergarten through 3rd grade committee of the Early Learning Hub also met in Philomath yesterday, and we'll be meeting here again actually in December. And it's nice to have that kind of connection with Lynn Benton Community College and the Early Learning Hub as we support our preschool activities that happen with us at Clemens. So that's the quick overview, since I was late getting it in. If there's questions, I'm happy to answer them. And after I answer questions, before I give up the line item, we've got a representative here from our Special Education Advisory Committee that I wanted to be able to make sure that she had a few minutes to be able to share some information with us, as our SEAC committee is very committed to student success. SEAC is the Special Education Advisory Committee. So if you're welcome to come up and share with us.
Thank you, Superintendent Halliday. My name is Stephanie Grant. I am a parent. I have 2 students in the school district, and I attend SEAC meetings. For those of you who don't know, SEAC is a group of community members who are committed to quality education for children with disabilities. And we meet pretty much once a month, every month on the first Tuesday of the month, here in this building. in this room at 6:30 p.m. Our next meeting is Tuesday, December 6th. And anyone in the community who is passionate about special education is welcome to attend. To give you a brief update of what we've been up to, in October, our special education director, Cynthia Bartulli, asked us to provide some ideas and feedback for a grant she was writing to procure funding for resources for special ed services. We also got to vote on a name for the new transition program that's being developed in our school district. As you probably are aware, Senator Gelson was able to obtain a grant for further developing our transition programming. So we got to vote, and the name for that program is now called STEPS, which stands for Supportive Transition Empowering Personal Success. And segueing, in the first week of November, 3 of our members who are parents attended a PATH meeting, which stands for Planning Alternative Tomorrows with Hope, where we help to set goals for this new transition program STEPS and a working roadmap for achieving that vision over the next couple of years. And we walked away with a couple of action points. So SEAC is going to work to obtain a book that explains the transition process to parents and have that readily available as a resource. We're also going to add the STEPS program as a line item on our agenda so that we're getting monthly updates on how it's developing and how we can support that program in any way that we can. And just to note, because I don't know if anyone has talked about that PATH meeting yet, it was run by a couple of individuals from ESDs up in the Portland area. And there were about, a couple dozen people in the room. There were a lot of people in attendance for this sort of blue skies brainstorming meeting. And these 2 individuals said that they had never had parents attend one of these sessions, and we had 3. And they also said that they had never had a student in attendance providing ideas and feedback. So I think they were pretty impressed by that, and I think that that is something that we can be proud of, that we definitely showed up to support our special services. And I think that the fine, hardworking staff members in the transition program really appreciated all the support that was there. They felt very heard, and they were excited about all of the ideas that we have for further developing our transition programs. Over the past couple of years, we have also been working to increase the number of books in our libraries that highlight disabilities. So the last 2 years, we probably purchased a couple of dozen books on topics ranging from autism, Down syndrome, dyslexia, ADHD, loss of sight, hearing, sensory processing, and anxiety. So they're not just books that are sort of explaining these various exceptionalities, but they're books that have characters that have these exceptionalities so that, you know, their voices and their stories are being present in our libraries. The first year we were able to work with the Paloma PTO and use Scholastic dollars from our book fairs to buy some of these books. We've also worked with the district media specialist. She was able to obtain a grant and use some money from that to buy books. And then, of course, our SEAC members occasionally can't help ourselves. They see a great book that we just have to have in our libraries, and we buy them and donate them to the library. So we're going to continue to work on that and add a couple of books as the years go by. And lastly, usually each year, SEAC, in collaboration with the district, helps to develop a fair for parents that brings them in connection with resources. And last year, Don Dorman, he did a transition forum you may have heard of. That was fantastic. This year, we're thinking to do a spring fair on autism. So that's it. We would love to see some new faces at meetings and have more voices at the table. As I said, anyone is invited to come who's passionate about supporting special education in our district. And we meet on the first Tuesday of each month. Next meeting is December 6th. School board members are welcome.
Two things.
Sure.
One, if it's education, it's got to have acronyms, so that's good.
I know.
And second, I'm glad to hear that books on anxiety, because it's amazing how many people don't understand or recognize the fact that anxiety is a legitimate disability for some students. So, thank you very much. Any
Yeah.
comments?
Yeah,
or-
thank you so much for coming tonight and presenting. It's been a long time since we've had a
Yes.
report, and so it's just really nice to hear what you guys are doing. And it sounds like you're getting really organized and kind of coming back. I know after the last few years, everything's kind of,
It's crazy.
yeah. But also, I think as a board, I think we would want you to know as well, whatever we can do to potentially support you in your work, please feel free to contact us and talk about that, because we want to help senior advance your department and your peoples.
Yeah, so I appreciate that, thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thanks, thank you very much.
All right. Anything else? Great. You good? Okay, so on to the financial report.
Well, I'm gonna say the same thing everybody else said. Thank you for the community support of the levy. Budget building isn't easy to begin with, but with that, it will make it a little bit easier for all of us in the district. We have the state revenue forecast came out yesterday, and it's not bad news, but it's not great news. It sounds like the revenue forecast will be pretty even and steady for next year, so not much more coming our way is what it sounds like. Legislators and lobbyists will work towards trying to put more towards education in the coming years, the biennium, so we'll just have to wait and see what will come our way. Budget committee, we don't have any applications yet for the last vacancy. It's still open till November 30th for anybody. If you guys know anybody who want to apply,
I put a plug in a couple people's ears, so I'm hoping you get a full application.
okay, yeah, that would be great. Our first fall information meeting is on the 8th for everybody to come to. We won't have a new budget committee member appointed if we have one apply, but if somebody applied and wanted to come to that meeting, they're more than welcome since it's a public session.
What time is that meeting at? I'm sorry.
It's at 6.
So on the
There's
8th,
also,
I haven't sent out an invite yet, I just sent
Okay.
out an email.
the middle school's winter performance, concert is that evening also, just to let you know.
What time is that, sir?
It doesn't have a time on the calendar, but I think we usually start at 7.
I think that's the time we start, but I don't know that for sure.
We could work around the timing of the informational meeting, we could move it a little earlier if people could make it.
and with informational meeting, you think it would take more than an hour?
Probably not, there may be one new committee member, everybody else has been on the budget committee, it's just a reinforcement of the rules of the budget committee and what's supposed to be here, so we can keep it to an hour. That's all.
I'll get in touch with, I'm sorry,
Oh, no, go ahead.
I was gonna say, I'll get in touch with Mr. Bell tomorrow and find out what time that'll be,
Okay,
and then we can coordinate.
sounds good.
And I would think if anybody was wanting to go to that, and like you say, if there's only one new member, then if somebody needed to leave early to head over there, they probably wouldn't see it as a major problem, but.
There's no action taken at the meeting, it's just informational, so.
Thank you.
We did the recruit and retention grant appreciation incentives. Staff will see those this week, so that will be kind of a nice mid-month bump for them. And then we have them allowed to have workplace purchases as well, $100 per staff member if they wanted to buy something to help them in their workplace, and that's going well. That have that available through the end of the month. One last thing, the paid family leave that Susan was talking about. We've submitted our declaration of intent for an equivalent plan, but it hasn't been approved yet. So at this point, we're planning on going with the equivalent plan and not going with the Oregon state plan. But if that doesn't get approved, then we'll have to go
Who
with the
approves
state.
that?
The state. So it has to be, we do an application through the state in conjunction with the third party that we're gonna go with, and then the state approves our intention. So that will delay making contributions until September instead of having to start in January, which we would have if we had gone with the state. That's all I have to share. Do you have any questions?
I'm not seeing it. Thank you very much. Jason.
All right, Mr. Vice Chair and members of the board, Superintendent Halliday, thank you for allowing me to speak with you this evening. Superintendent Halliday is passing out a little handout that I brought with me that we'll just take a look at as we go through here. Before I start, I just want to say it's exciting to be here in Philomath. This is, while I am in my 3rd year as assistant superintendent, I haven't had a chance to get out in person with that little pandemic thing really caused kind of a problem for a while, and but it's fun to be here. Just a little side story: when I first moved to Oregon in 1999, I was a new-ish elementary school teacher, and my very first substitute job in fall of 1999 was at that little school right over here, and ended up moving to Philomath, not fully realizing that my grandfather actually went to high school here. I knew that he went to high school somewhere in Oregon, but once I was here, my dad's like, "Where did you move?" So there's deep ties into this community, which is really, really fun for me. So just a little bit about LBL. Lynn Benton Lincoln ESD serves, and you can see on the front side of this, we serve 4 core service areas, and this is by statute, those areas being special education, technology support services, school improvement services, and administrative support services. And if you flip to the second page, you can see just a few stats that we serve 12 component school districts in 3 counties. There's 96 schools in our region with about 2,000 teachers and 37,000 students. We have a little bit different funding than a lot of people are aware of in terms of comparative to school districts. Most of your funding comes from the state school fund, and in fact for ESDs, that is really only about 1/3 of our funding. Our largest funding source actually comes from major grants, the largest being a state grant for early childhood and special education. And so that's actually our largest program. And you can see it in the pie chart there that the breakdown of where our funding in our budget comes from. There's one note here that's really just a little different this year from other years, is that 15% for capital projects. That's a bit of an anomaly because we're actually in the process of renovating our building in downtown Albany. And so normally we wouldn't be having 15% of our budget going to capital projects. And so that's just this year. And I look forward to having people, come and visit once that's completed in July of this coming year. You can see, if you flip to the next page, Lynn Benton Lincoln provides services through 2 tiers. It is kind of how we organize things. The 12 superintendents serve essentially as a board and basically a voting advisory committee to determine tier 1 services that every school district gets. And so the funding that comes from the state that flows out to school districts, 90% of the funding that we receive goes right out to school districts. And this tier 1 services that you see on the left side of this document are all the various services that school districts just have access to for no additional fees or anything like that. Then the second tier, or tier 2 services, those are actually services, and so Superintendent Halliday mentioned that we were just here, and we visit with districts both in the fall and the spring to talk about the tier 2 services and basically the spring plan for, and in the fall double check that the services that the district is choosing to purchase from LBL are what the district wants. And so there are a variety of different things, and I actually don't have the paper of the tier 2 services, and I'd be happy to provide that. I know that Susan has that as well, that she can provide it. The types of things that come through tier 2 for your district. Also on this page, I just want to point out, if you look in the lower right-hand corner, the variety of grants, contracts and partnerships that we have in our region and we work with. You know, one particular project actually was mentioned by your superintendent a little bit ago, the Center for Educational Leadership that met most recently at Clement Primary comes through the SEIA funds that come to our region, and the superintendent group actually decided that, hey, we would like to have this leadership opportunity for our administrators in our region, and so that's something that one of our programs actually pulled together and provided for our districts. So really fantastic work in improving educational leadership. And then at the top right here, there's some new services for districts. These are actually really in their second year, they're new-ish services, things around the behavioral safety framework and suicide prevention, looking at those post-prevention plans, the Addie's Act, crisis response protocols, things like that. Looking at cyber safety, and just a note there that your superintendent has had some excellent forethought in buying into cyber safety and being prepared for both meeting the PACE requirements for cyber safety, as well as if, or I should say when, you get attacked. And the reality is that school districts all over our state every year in the past few years have gotten attacks, and really it's a scary thing, because what they're going after is clean student data, and a lot of times those kids don't even know that there's a problem with their data until they become adults and they go and try to get that car loan and realize they have terrible credit and they've never had credit before, at least that's what they thought. So there's a lot of work around cyber safety that goes in. We actually have a service that we provide, and your superintendent had purchased this service. And then the superintendent group, the Valley Coast Superintendents Association, is actually tomorrow meeting and going to be talking about adding that service into Tier 1. Just looking at it, that it's something that all districts need, and that might become a Tier 1 service that's on their votes tomorrow. The new teacher mentor program, this is one that's really exciting to me, in that we actually have two phenomenal teachers that are really coaches of coaches. And so they provide support for mentors in your districts to be good mentors to new staff. And so that's what that is. Then on the back page are just all the contact bits of contact information, or you can see all of our administrators that are on that list. Feel free, if you ever have any questions, to give us a call. And on behalf of our superintendent and our board, we really appreciate the relationship that we have. We do meet on a regular basis, and it's really great to work with your fantastic superintendent and go through that process. One process, the last thing that I'll share, is that every other year, we go through and we determine what is in our local service plan. That is the plan that is by statute what we as an ESD provide our component districts, and look at what sort of things are in the plan. And that's the reason why we're actually talking about cyber safety tomorrow, to see if that goes in the local service plan as a Tier 1 service. Once that is approved by our board, it will be sent out to all of the individual boards. So you will receive a draft of that, and we will ask for your review and approval of that plan going forward as we look into this winter. So with that, I'd be happy to answer any questions.
No questions, I just appreciate our partnership.
Thank you so much. Appreciate being here.
Thank you very much.
Absolutely.
Summer learning reports. Come on down.
Hello.
No.
First of all, big thanks to Superintendent Holiday for helping me get this report out. That was super helpful. So our final K-8 and 9-12 reports have been submitted to OEE for review. For K-8, we served a total of 169 students just academically based, and then the total amount of students that we have served is 197, which is awesome. And for high school, we have served a total of 51 students, and the amount of students that have successfully earned credits are 39. We offered 39.25 credits to students, and out of those 39.25 credits that were offered, they earned 23.5, which is great. So we're looking towards next year, and I am putting together some potential planning dates with teachers from around the district to help us get ready to plan and get ready for next year.
Yeah, Grace has been on me since summer ended. We're gonna plan, we're gonna get ready for next year, so.
Well, I understand that there's lots of roadblocks in that. Often we don't know the funding level will be correct, so it's hard to plan ahead.
And that's
Yeah,
doing
so
what
right
we
now,
can.
what worked well, what didn't work so well, what do we want to change potentially, and how could we possibly change that?
Yeah, we've talked and decided to move ahead with the planning part of it, and if it's not funded in that same way this next year, we'll chalk it up to what we can do, but if it is funded, then it puts us in a place of being even better prepared to be able to meet needs of students. So Grace has been real good about wanting to jump on that and be able to maximize teacher enrollment.
Well, if I'm not mistaken, that's one of the things that they're pushing at the legislative level is to have secured summer funding, correct? So, yes, I see you crossing your fingers, so, yeah.
Yep.
I agree.
Yep, and we're kind of taking two paths. If we do get the funding, how will it look? If we don't, how will it look?
Thank you.
Absolutely.
Thanks.
Thank you very much.
Yeah, thank you.
Real-time assessment and student support.
And that's where we've got 3 partnerships of folks to be able to share with us tonight. When we talked about how we look at our student information consistently to be able to make decisions about students every day. We've got a representation from Philomath High School and their work that they've done specifically with the Center for High School Success and the work that's happening in the high school this year in professional learning times and what teachers are looking at. We've got reporting for our response to instruction and intervention, primarily literacy, but some math information of what is looked at consistently to be able to meet the needs of students on a daily basis. And then we delved into the social emotional learning and behavior supports by being able to take a look at something called DESA, which is, they'll go into as a screener, but it also starts to look at beyond, as well as Center for High School Success does, but it starts to look outside the bounds of just credit to be able to look at student success and student safety. So I'm thankful for the people who have come to share with us tonight. I'll get my English right. And I think what we'll do is we'll go ahead and start with the high school, and then we'll just work our way down from there.
Good evening. I'm Mark Henderson, principal at the high school, and this is Dee Dee Collins. She's one of our assistant principals at the high school. We're going to be talking about some new systems that we put in place to track and monitor student achievement and attendance. And those were born out of some partnerships with Center for High School Success and the LDL, ESD. So I'll turn it over to Dee Dee first.
So we started this summer with the Center for High School Success. And there was quite a number of us, I actually don't remember how many, I think there were maybe like 10, that went to the training in August. And we developed a team from that, and then we came back to the school. Mark sat down early in the summer, and we made a schedule that allowed the teachers to meet every week, just about every week. There's often a week here and there where we have individual PL time that we don't interrupt their personal development time. So what we do is we are looking at freshman data on their attendance, behavior, and academic. So we take time, we reach out. So because the teachers don't have access to all the data in SIS, I prepared the data from SIS to share with the teachers on the team. And then we have a lead who is Erica Hall, and she wanted to be here tonight. She wanted to apologize, but she had parent-teacher conferences tonight for her son, so it's very important.
Sure.
So anyway, she is leading the team, and then she goes and gets what we call the street data. So she goes out and talks to the teachers, talks to the kids, sees what's going on, so you get more than just the numbers. You're getting to see what's happening in the classroom and how they're feeling. So we take that information, we go to our meeting at 45 minutes on Friday from 12:45 to 1:30. And we meet, look at the data, we make plans from the data, come up with some different interventions, like check in, check out, some different things to help the student be successful in the tier, in that kind of range, that tier category. We call it tier 2. And we set criteria recently for that. So a student would be referred there if they have 1 F or 2 Ds, or have 2 behavior referrals, and you have to have 2 of these categories, not just 1. And your attendance is above 80%. So that tier 2 kind of hones us in like who we're looking at, because those students, the teachers are able to make some progress by just working together, making plans and shifting some things. So it's just opening up a lot of communication and looking at the data, you know, where the kids are at and how we can support them.
Well, and the Center for High School Success was kind of focused on freshman success, but we've taken that model and have adapted it to all of our grade levels. So while the freshman success team meets every single week, the other 3 classes meet about once a month. Although, for example, I will lead the success team for the 10th grade, and then the 11th and 12th grade teachers, the homeroom teachers for those kids, will meet informally and discuss kids. And I would meet with the 10th grade in a more formalized process. And then the next week, it would be the 11th grade, and the next week would be the 12th grade, and so on. So we're hitting all the grade levels.
And I did want to add that through this process, it's kind of been funny. It's been evolving. Like every month, a little thing I feel like it's a little bit better. We're coming up with some forms and some tracking. Ross Davis from LPL gave us a protocol, Kid Talk, that's been really effective, and it keeps things going, and just really thankful for their help in that. He meets with Erica, I think once a week, to go over different things. He came and watched one of our meetings and then gave us feedback that we were able to then make some adjustments again. So it's been just really valuable work with them.
And then we've also instituted a tier 3 team. And so the tier 3 team is made up of administrators and counselors, and we meet every Monday to talk about a specific class. And so our tier 3 kids are those that are 2 Fs or more, or have 3 referrals, behavior referrals, or are below 80% attendance. And so the administrators and the counselors meet, and we talk about, again, we have the same similar tracking forms, looking at the same data, and developing plans and interventions for those tier 3 kids as well.
And then we have started also an attendance team. So our attendance team meets every 2 weeks. Ross is also helping us with that. And we look at our attendance data to see what we can do to get kids to school. So a couple things that has come out of that, we did a nudge letter for students that are in the 85 to 90%, just, you know, reminding parents, you know, that where the average kid is and where your student is just a little bit more. And Ross has said that a lot of times parents don't realize like a day here and there really does add up. And so when they see those numbers, sometimes that helps. We did a Thanksgiving letter today, just reminding people to plan ahead, you know, and to communicate and things like that. And then Ross had us look at our students that are in that 85 to 90%, or 85 to 89%, And we have committed as an admin team to be reaching out to those families to see what we can do to help support and what's going on and some different things. And kind of funny, Tony and I said, oh, we could do 5 a day. So far, we've done 1 a day. But really overestimated. And Ross told us that I don't think you're going to get 5. He was right. But I wanted to give you feedback on that. So, I've made like 4. And one of the girls that I called her mom and talked to her, she does virtual counseling, and she does, she has some appointments, and when she does those, she doesn't come to school. And this week, after my call, she called and said, is there a quiet place where my daughter can do the meeting there so she doesn't miss school? So she actually stayed at school today because of the conversation we had, so I was really excited that we are getting somewhere.
So the administrators and counselors, we're looking at a lot of data. Teachers are looking at some, but for this Friday, for tomorrow's professional learning, we have a data talk. We're going to be working on with the teachers on helping them to better analyze and interpret data. And we will do it. Any questions?
Is this all additional work to things you've already been doing, or is this replacing programs that used to exist?
I think student success teams were in existence, but nobody could really tell us how they operated very well or how they operated. We have experience at other schools that we've been at with student success teams. I've never seen much success. I'm really excited about what we're doing because I think we're really we're organized. We've got a good system. So it is additional. Yeah.
My experience at the high school, I was there for 31 years, and there were times when it was really a focus, and there was times when it really wasn't. They always supposedly existed, but some years they were a lot more effective than others. I don't know as I can explain why, but in some cases it's turnover of counselors or turnover of administrators, or there's so many different factors that could potentially affect that. But
How many students do you think, percentage-wise, do you see by class that fall under these tier 2 and tier 3 situations?
In our tier 3 groups, it varies. Obviously, the tier 3 for freshmen is bigger than the seniors. So, I think our freshman team, we're monitoring 9 in the tier 3. In the tier 2, I'd say it's equally about 9. Okay.
Typically, it's about 10% of your student body lies in tier 2 and about 5% in tier 1. Or tier 3, excuse me, 85% tier 1. We were just commenting, we were talking today because I'll be leading the 11th grade data team tomorrow. And so we were getting that all organized. And from the first meeting, this will be our second meeting with the 11th grade team. From the first meeting to the second meeting, the original 5 kids have all dropped off. They're all from tier 2, they're all back to tier 1.
That's going to be my next question. If you've already seen movement by putting this individuals, it seems more individual that's focused on these students. But you've seen movement in previous years, and you have, that's incredible.
That's exciting.
I congratulate you on the success you've had so far. I look forward to seeing how it's playing out over the year.
It's I'm sorry.
How it keeps going over the year.
Yeah, we're looking forward to it. Compared to other schools I've been at, I feel like we're already seeing more movement than I ever saw in years. I think part of that goes to the fact how small we are and how much, our staff is amazing at how they care for kids. And I think those two things combined really make it easy for us to move kids the right direction.
And, it's structured, we have it all planned into our regular schedule. It's not additional in the evenings or anything. So I think all of those pieces have really made a difference in keeping the focus on kids.
Congratulations.
Thank you for all hard work.
so much. Thank you.
Mrs. Couture?
Will you be able to put the slides up?
I'm just gonna find it here.
So good evening, everybody. I get to represent the RTI team for the district tonight. Our two RTI specialists at the elementary school, Molly Bell, who oversees second and third grade RTI, and Emily Helpenstel, who oversees fourth and fifth grade, have put together the majority of this presentation tonight. I'm going to share some data with you, and then we're going to talk through some of the things we've implemented to help increase student achievement. So the next slide shows our reading intervention data. The red that you see is our fall scores that we do from our universal screener, and the blue is our spring scores at each grade level. Typically, you'd like to see the difference going up, obviously, because kids are learning. And you can see there's some pretty significant things happening here with the data. The first is if you look at the spring kindergarten scores, and then the drop that you see in the fall in the red of first grade, that's a really big gap of student achievement. That is at the young primary grade levels summer. So that is typical, we see a lot of it, but what we're learning from that and what we've discussed some ideas about how to improve that is doing summer school, summer camps and things like that. And also sending things home with kids, all of their decodable readers that they're reading every day, sending those home and doing an incentive, the principal's reading challenge, and kind of incorporating that to try to bridge that gap a little bit of less regression in the future. And then you'll also see the significant drop from first grade scores in the spring to the fall of second grade. Again, that's primary, but we also do two separate assessments. At kinder first, we use the Easy CBM, and at second through fifth, we use something called Star 360. So you're kind of comparing apples to oranges a little bit here with the type of assessment we're doing. We typically, this is my 6th year as principal, and every single year we have seen that between first and second grade. It's typical. And having met with other principals yesterday during the tour at Clemens, we also hear that's typical in other elementary schools. So it helped me feel a little bit better about that too. But we're going to still continue to do summer school and things to help bridge that gap. If you look at the overall data, we want that blue line to be at least 80–85%. That would be 80–85% of our students are at or above grade level. This is COVID data. Typically, our scores are much higher than what you see here. This is concerning because our scores are pretty low right now, but we have kids learning from home, and that's huge. We're having to fill a lot of holes. And we've already made tremendous progress. But we're looking at this gives us an idea of what we can do. We've already put our heads together. We've got a plan in place for how to fill those holes. We'll look at our math data on the next slide. And the math data looks a little bit better. But look at kindergarten and first grade, fall is higher than spring. Yeah, very, very weird. We're discussing that as a team of why that is. And part of the reason we had to last year focus so much on social emotional learning with our young kids that had never been with other kids before. So we spent more time than typical doing that and had less time of math instruction. Typically every year we do 60 minutes of math instruction. Last year we did 45 because we added some more social emotional learning to just get kids regulated and able to socialize healthily with one another. So that has it's made tremendous progress. And this year we're not doing that. We're back to the 60 minutes plus of math instruction. So we'll see more increased learning there. Second and third, it looks really good. Second through fifth looks much better with progress. And we are continuing to get those scores as high as we can to get to the 80th to 85%. So I'm going to tell you a little bit about the reading process that we do. So every student, K through 5, is assessed every fall to see where they're at instructionally. We use that data and review it, and decide which students from using that data are performing below grade level, so we can provide some support. So all students every day get 90 minutes of reading instruction. That's Monday through Thursday, and that includes their small group reading time. We look at that data and we say, okay, we've got this many students who are performing below grade level. We put the students into group based on their skill. Some students might need help with, at my school, it's phonics or phonemic awareness. Some of them might need more help recognizing their letters and sounds. And at the higher grade levels, we're working on fluency and comprehension and vocabulary. So depending on the skill necessary that the student is lacking, we break them up into groups, and those students get 20 to 30 minutes additional time with our RTII specialists in a small group setting, focusing on those specific skills to bring them back up to where they need to be. So those students in the small groups are progress monitored, which is reassessed with a small assessment to make sure they're making progress. And we meet on those kids every 6 to 8 weeks to determine if they're making the necessary progress. If they are, that's great. We will exit them out and they're back in the, they stay in class with their peers. And if they're not, then we may decide, okay, we need to give them another 6 weeks of this intervention because they're making slow progress, but they're making progress. Or we may decide to try something different as well. So, and keep in mind that this intervention time is, all kids get 90 minutes, intervention time is in addition to the 90 minutes of reading. So the kids that are struggling are then getting another 30 minutes, so 120 minutes of reading instruction. Then if we have kids in the red, similar to what you heard from high school, the kids that are in tier 3, they would get even a third bump of instruction, and that is done one-to-one, usually with a student who really needs some intense intervention. So we do this process from the beginning of the school year. We do the assessment, we figure out where kids are, we're doing the small groups, we're doing the interventions, and then we're progress monitoring to see how they're doing, and then we come in January and we do a universal screener again with all students. And we see if they're making progress or not, see if we're missing any kids. And then we run through that whole process again from January to May. And then May, we have our final year data that has shown tremendous growth over the years as we've implemented this process. Of course, that COVID data didn't show that, but prior we've been being really successful. So the next slide talks more specifically about what intervention type time looks like for these kids. So our RTII specialists will do some of the following. They'll push in to support in the classroom as they're doing their small groups. So instead of having just the teacher in there, you now have the RTII specialist that they can help give individualized help to students. They're giving 25 to 30 minutes spent throughout that time in the classroom. They're doing that for reading and for math. They're supporting students with their skill gaps. So like I said, every intervention is based on their skill. They're not wasting their time on a skill that they don't need. They're really focused specifically on the skill that they're lacking. So reading is focused on phonemic awareness, phonics, fluency, multisyllabic word attack strategies. Whew, that was a tongue twister. And then math, they're focusing on counting, place value, basic number sense, addition and subtraction. Math is new this year for us as we implement interventions for math. So that is, we're kind of at the beginning of where we were 3 or 4 years ago when we started RTI for reading. So math is new, and the intervention time is new this year. We're getting all that underway, and we'll share the data at the end of the school year to show how we've been able to make progress with that. Hopefully, really good progress. So that's a lot of the process of how we support kids at the elementary level. Do you have any questions?
Yes. Oh, go ahead. I was just curious. So when you talk about the 20 to 30 minutes, I mean, in this scenario, you're talking about somebody coming into the classroom, or are there times where kids are taken out of the classroom for their 20 to 30 minutes? And when that happens, what are they losing out on?
Typically, the kids are pulled, at the primary school, they do small group reading rotations, and they're pulled out so that they're not really missing anything in the classroom. So in their small groups, some of the kids will get 4 rotations that would include time with the teacher, time with an instructional assistant in the classroom, they're reading with a partner, and then the 4th rotation is usually something on one of the Chromebooks, listening to stories or something. So 2 of those rotations then, for the readers that are at grade level, you know, the computers and the read to a friend during those 30 minutes, they're gonna get more bang for their buck, more stronger skills lessons if they're out of the classroom with a reading specialist. So during that time, teachers have it all planned with our reading specialist. They go out and they have specialized instruction for 30 minutes with the RTII specialist. At the elementary school, a little bit different model. They have broken all the kids up into skill level at the whole grade level. They do something called walk to reading. So they'll all go to different places for a time, and then the kids that are receiving intervention will be pulled during that time as well. But you don't really know that you're being pulled specially or missing anything because all students at grade level are walking to go somewhere. So they're not missing anything like in the past, you know, you're not missing science or art or something.
Thanks.
You talk about pulling them out to go with a reading specialist. Do you have math specialists at the primary?
They're both, I should say, reading and math, great question. Those specialists have taken on math this year, so they're reading and math specialists.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're welcome, thank you.
Thank you.
And Cynthia.
Hi, I'm Cynthia Bartholomew, your Student Services Director. And I wanted to pause just before we started tonight because I really just wanted to again thank our parent for coming to talk about CDAC. That was a fantastic presentation. So thank you very much. It's an incredible opportunity to get to work and serve as a team member with CDAC. And so them coming tonight it was a great highlight. One of the other things that I get an opportunity to do is to get to work with our amazing Donna Starr. And Donna and I are here tonight to talk to you about social emotional learning and the work that's happening in terms of SEL across the district, specific to what is social emotional learning, as well as the data that you have been diligently collecting, the interventions with some of the programs, and then the work that's already been happening, and what are our next steps in the work with social emotional learning in the district. So, I'll skip it.
So when we talk about social emotional learning, what we're really talking about is that natural process that we all go through from birth through adulthood to just manage and be aware of our emotions, to set positive goals for ourselves, to build relationships with others, and to make responsible decisions. So in the field of SEL in education, it's really been led by a group, and I think you have all these handouts, called CASEL, which is the Collaborative for Academic Social Emotional Learning. They've been around since 1994, so it's been quite a long time. And they're a national organization that advocates for and informs both federal policy and also works with states to help states set their standards for SEL learning. And one of the things they're best known for is coming up with this record, and that's called the CASEL Fund. And this lists out those essential skills that students need to be successful as they go through school and then as they go into the workforce. And so the 2 orange ones are really the inward-looking ones, and that's self-awareness and self-management. So just being aware of your emotions, what those are, and being able to manage those emotions. So really important skills for our littles to learn. And then the green ones are more outward-looking, so that's social awareness and relationship skills. So we get into those as kids get more into elementary school and higher. And then responsible decision-making. And then it also lists where those occur, right? So they're in the classroom, we have explicit SEL instruction and classroom climate. In the school in general, we have the school-wide culture, it's practices and policies that support SEL. Our families and caregivers, we want to have authentic relationships with our families that support SEL instruction. And then in the community, we want to have aligned learning opportunities with our community partners. So most of the programs out there that teach these skills have been aligned with this CASEL 5. So then the question becomes, how do you know if your students are learning these things? So we've been fortunate enough, this is the second year, we've been working with LBL to use the DESA, and that's this handout. So
they
DESA is a
really
national-
quickly, I just want to tell Christopher, I just sent you all of these documents to your phone. In case you're wondering what I was doing.
So the DESA is a nationally standardized and norm reference, and most importantly, a strength-based assessment that measures the CASEL 5, and then they have also added 3 more, which is goal-directed behavior, personal responsibility, and optimistic thinking. So there's really 2 parts to the DESA. The first part is a universal screener that teachers report on students K through 8. And that gives us back a composite score that lets us know if students are in the strength range, in the typical range, or in the need for instruction range. So are they in the green, or the red, just like RTI. And then for those students who are showing a need for instruction, we can administer the full DESA, which is a deeper dive, a 75-question survey that we use with parent permission. And that gives us back a score in each one of these 8 areas. So that lets us really target our instruction and differentiate it so we can know what each student's unique needs are for those tier 2 and tier 3 students, and really deliver instruction that's going to be exactly what we need. So that leads us to this year's fall data. So just like they do the math and reading assessment, we did the DESA assessment. And so you can see here it was in October, and this smaller graph shows us K through 8 and also Philomath Academy. And as you can see, our K1 friends are a little high in the red there. We'd like to see no more than 15% in the need for instruction range. But again, we have to remember these kids are coming out of COVID, right? And they haven't been with other students. They haven't learned those social rules yet. And so this isn't a surprise at all. If you look 2nd through 5th, our PES friends are doing really well. Very well. So we were really pleased with that data. Middle school, you see a little more bump, but again, it's not above 15% in the need for instruction, and you would expect to see a little more need for social emotional instruction in junior high or middle school. I'm sorry, I still call it junior high. But you also see a fair amount of kids in the strength range in middle school, way above the 15% that you might expect in the strength range. So that's really good information. And then the 9th through 12th is the Philomath Academy. Currently, we're just working K through 8 in Philomath Academy because the high school DESA is a self-reported survey, so the students do it on themselves. So the administration is going to be a little bit different in how we do that. So right now, while we're learning how to use the system, we're just going to go K through 8 for right here. So that's what's happened so far. What's next for us? So we are providing interventions for tier 3 students at PES, and we'll continue with that, and we're looking at expanding those services, starting small group instruction for students in tier 2 at PES, and also working with Abby and counselor at Clemens to start interventions in tier 2 and tier 3. We're going to continue our work with LBL and in our multi-tiered systems of support, building and expanding our SEL systems. Most importantly, I think we're monitoring the states. They're coming out with the SEL standards in the next couple of years, and we want to make sure that we're fulfilling those requirements and timelines, so we're keeping an eye on that. We're providing SEL interventions and strategies to our teaching staff and planning for more professional development in that area, and continuing to collect data on our student progress. So we'll be doing this again in the spring. And then as we get more into the system, you can also use this to progress monitor students. So as we provide those interventions, we can give this again throughout the year and then have more information on how we do it. So that's kind of our exciting work that we're doing. If you are interested in more or the research behind all of this, the websites for DESA and for CASEL are on the handouts, and you can look at some of the amazing research that's being done. I thought one of the most exciting ones just came out of Columbia University, that they did research over a long period of time, and they came up with the figure that for every dollar the school districts invest in SEL instruction, they gain $11 back. So I thought that was pretty fabulous, just in reduced staff, fewer aides, fewer behavior problems, better academic outcomes. So I thought that was a pretty good return on investment for the instruction.
I'm just out of curiosity, does any of this incorporate, and I know it could be real problematic, but the ACEs data, are you familiar with that?
I am, the adverse
experiences. I mean, it's a lot of that it's difficult to track because much of it is impossible to find out.
It is.
But
so, no, this, there's 8 questions on the DESA Mini, and it tells you a little bit about that on the back of this one. It asks things like, how often did the child keep trying when they were unsuccessful? How often did the child offer to help someone? How often did the child get things done in a timely fashion? That kind of thing.
Yeah.
So it's very much like in the olden days, the little square in the bottom of our report card that says citizenship and gets along with others, really, it's rating those things. And then, like I said, the deeper dive for those students in the red, then that shows us exactly what skills they're needing instruction in.
So what's that kind of look like? I don't really understand what the, like when you identify somebody that needs intervention, I understand like when they need reading, you work on those specific things. What kind of programs do you offer to kids, or how do you help them?
So we look at their specific needs. So maybe if they're having issues with keeping their hands to themselves, we might do specific lessons on that. If they're having difficulty with transitions, we might do specific lessons on that. So it really is targeted to the behaviors that we're seeing.
I think that's helpful.
And do these interventions then also potentially help, especially in these earlier education age ranges, help identify students who might need additional assistance for, maybe families who need diagnoses for different things that might have come up? Because you can identify things through some behavior. I know you can't diagnose things, but is that something you see happen with these interventions then?
Definitely, and it works much the same as the RTI system.
Okay.
So that as we go through the intervention cycles and we meet again on these students to see if our interventions are working, if we continue to see no growth, then that may lead to a referral to special ed or to outside community services or whatever that student or family needs. And we try to work really closely with our families in determining what those services would be.
I just am thinking, totally personal note, and I apologize, but my grandmother just gave my dad his report cards and all of his early elementary report cards. Great kid, quiet, does so well in school. Then by middle school, it was like, we don't really know what's going on with this kid. He's not behaving that well. Turns out he has very severe dyslexia that went completely undiagnosed through his entire educational experience. But you could kind of, had you had a system like this been in place where you're tracking the student as they go through the educational process, probably wouldn't have gone undiagnosed. So I appreciate the work that you're doing from that perspective, especially.
That's how we're looking at the whole child now.
Yes.
So with between RTI and this work, then we can really catch those things, and because 1 degree of difference in kindergarten or first grade can make all the difference later in life, right?
Absolutely. So thank you for all the work that we're all doing every day, of course, but
Thank you for listening.
Thank you so much.
Yeah, this is the magic that works every day to get kids to where they are.
All right, on to the strategy discussion board goals. What are we gonna do with that?
That, I
that's
don't
a
know.
great question. I believe at the last meeting, somebody had said that they would work on aligning our metrics with the goals that were
That was
presented
me,
last meeting.
and I didn't do it.
Oh.
All right, well,
I'm on it for next month, my apologies.
Yes, to
that
some of
is okay.
Go to December. All right, no problem. All right, then on to the discussion action items. First, appoint a student representative to the board. So what process are we going to do or use for that?
And throw to Christopher. I don't know. Christopher, would you like to,
Oh, he said he can't unmute it, so.
Oh, no. Well, maybe Karen then.
So I guess just to bring everyone up to speed, we opened up a position to get a student representative on our board. We think it's important that we include students in the conversation. We want to hear what they have to say, have a place for them at the table. Of course, this position is a non-voting position, but that does not mean that we won't be looking to them for feedback and advice and just general guidance from a student's perspective. So we had an application process. We received 3 applications. We interviewed the potential candidates at a work session earlier this month. And it's at this point, we need to have a little discussion or a vote, if somebody's ready just to bring it to a vote, and appoint a student representative to fill that seat for the rest of this school year. We will actually start this process over again rather soon, and we sort of want to have a rolling student representative so that somebody always has a little bit of experience if you're going into the next school year. With that said, one of our board members here, Erin, tonight is recusing herself as her daughter has applied as a student representative. So that leaves us up to Joe, Christopher, and myself tonight. I need to make a vote as Rick is not here this evening. So do I hear, I mean, it's not my job to ask, but does anybody have any discussion, comments? Christopher, thanks for.
Yes.
Yes, I can talk for better or worse, but I think you summed it up pretty well. I think I also just want to thank the 3 applicants that we got for putting yourself out there and wanting to represent the student body, especially as we talked about a little bit when we interviewed them. You know, this is the first time we're ever doing this, so there's no real roadmap, at least in our district, for the right way to do this. So I think that takes even more kind of putting yourself out there. So a big thank you to those folks. I genuinely am not sure exactly what I'm gonna do tonight. So I guess I would be interested to hear if anyone on the board, or I guess, well, the 2 of you who aren't me and aren't recused and are here, if you've had any moments of clarity or anything since our last meeting, because I don't know if I have.
I would say I've not actually had any moments of clarity either. This is new, we don't know what we don't know. But I do know that the person who we select needs to feel really comfortable being in this position and sitting at this table and being able to have that voice and speak out and be able to go to the schools and talk to their fellow students and really engage. And I don't want to put anybody in a position and set anybody up for failure. And so I'm not, and I would also say that from a visual perspective, I'm potentially uncomfortable appointing a board member's child. And I would love to separate the person from the position from the mom, but it is difficult, I think, to not recognize that.
And I see that. One of my thoughts, though, was the fact that we have 2 sophomores and 1 junior applying. And in terms of comfort level, being able to work with other students at the high school, especially a student with, another year of experience might be a little stronger in that position. That's the sort of where my mind went as I started to think about this. That's really the only thing that jumped out at me. I mean, there's some other stuff, but that was one of the big ones as far as this initial position. That's something we've never done before. Like you say, the comfort level of being with and working with the board, or at least, the student representative does not have voting rights, but will be able to comment, will be able to bring information from the schools and, back and forth, so.
And I just want to, is Brooke Mode still there?
Yes.
She is.
Okay. I just want to make sure, not to put her on the spot, but if she has anything she wants to say, I want to make sure we're including her in that, just since she was part of the interview process.
I think we said Brooke has a vote. Yeah, so I forgot when I spoke earlier, so there are words.
Was that, I didn't quite catch, was that just a no? Was that no?
Brooke has a vote in this process, so there's really 4 of us, is what we're saying.
Yes. Yeah, I just wanted to make sure, if she wants to like come sit at my little chair or something.
Here we go.
I feel like the big face in like the Wizard of Oz that's up on the screen.
So from a process standpoint, I would recommend that we go about it the same way we did when we had a vacancy on the board that we filled where there were sheets of paper that people wrote their vote down. I think people are uncomfortable speaking up right now in this forum, perhaps.
I was not about.
And then Christopher, you can text Susan. How's that for official?
Okay.
Pause a moment while Susan goes get some paper for us.
Okay.
I guess the only other thing that I would say is that this first person will only have a partial term because they would only go to the end of the school year, right?
Yeah. They would.
First would have a shorter term than the next one.
Yeah.
So are we ready to vote then? All right, let's go ahead and do that, and then pass votes to me, or just actually, I'll do this.
Okay.
Oh, you're gonna get a text from Chris.
Okay.
Or you could show me his, whichever. You want to write one for him?
No, thanks. I can show you.
Good. Okay, we have a tie.
Perfect.
All right, we have two votes for Alora and 2 votes for Jackson. So the question then becomes, how do we manage a tiebreaker? Christopher McWarren, your thoughts?
Well, I mean, because technically this is all unofficial. So if someone just wants to make a motion, then we can actually vote on it one way or the other. If someone feels very strongly one way or the other. but
Well,
I-
I guess the only thing I would say is that with discussions with Rick, I don't know his exact vote, but I think I know who he would have voted for. And so if we just want to go with that, I'm pretty sure just based on his strong support of
I'm not sure that we are allowed.
but yeah, we
to,
can't really
since
do
he's
that, but
not president.
we're gonna have to make some way of breaking the tie without, I mean, unless we want to wait for another month, but yes.
Yeah, if I may provide a suggestion to you and some broader context to talking with a number of districts in our region that are looking at this, I would consider actually having two student board representatives, because they can actually talk with each other outside of the meeting to be able to, bounce the ideas that happen in the board meeting and be able to process that when they go out to their student body and to be able to have a conversation later. I think that provides a lot of safety to high school students to be able to come here, not just be one sole student voice, and that would also solve your tiebreaker problem. Big goal.
I appreciate that as well, especially because they can, because of tag team type situation.
Exactly.
It could be.
And if one can't come for one reason or another, there are a number of boards that will have two kids. Certainly in communities with more than one high school, there's usually one from each high school, or, I spent 17 years in the Greater Albany School District, and there would be 3 student board reps, because there were 3 high school programs. So, something to consider.
And we can make that decision.
I guess my question with that is, does that conflict with anything that we put in the policy in whenever, like October or whatever it was, just since I just want to make sure we're not breaking our own policy if we do that.
It does say that the board will be appointing a non-voting student representative.
Interesting. I guess, I don't know, that maybe that's up to our discretion if we want to interpret that as being 2. I mean, I guess
We talked a little bit about alternates at one point, but we didn't put that in.
Right. And I mean, I think because part of our thought was that it would kind of be that, cyclical thing of like one person's kind of the elect and one person's the real representative. We're just getting started.
And our policy committee meets tomorrow, so whatever we decide, we can look at how policy aligns.
Interesting. I guess. So what are our options? We could do 2. Someone can always make a motion to just appoint someone and we can vote on that motion, because this tie is unofficial, right? Like this is not an official vote of the board. But
Okay, we actually do have a vote from Rick Wells via text. And so, okay, so that would then place it with 3 for Jackson and 2 for Laura. So by vote, that would make Jackson our representative.
if someone wants to make a motion to do that, then we can have an official vote on that.
Just like we appointed Christopher, we did make a motion after we did kind of the line votes.
By being the chair of this meeting, I can't make the motion, so. Chris or Aaron, Karen?
I guess I move that we appoint Jackson Holroyd as student representative to the Philomath School Board.
I'll second.
Yeah, all those in favor? One abstaining and one absent. Well, actually.
No, because he voted.
He voted, so yes, so it'd be four.
But he's not officially on a meeting, so he can't be recorded as an official vote, can he?
No, he's not voting. That was just it.
Okay. So it'd be three with one abstaining. Okay, and then what I would do with our other two potentials would be to be in consideration. We could even keep their applications for the next round for the next representative to come through. And then put out the application the next time we start this process back again to the high school.
Would you like to direct me to contact all three?
Sure, if you would like to do that, that would be very good.
And I also just want to say that this is the first time the board has done this as well. So I think we've learned some good lessons with this process that we will take into account as we work on the process to appoint our more, long-term representative after the winter break. So that being said, if any of the applicants or community members or other students have any additional feedback or thoughts on ways to improve this, please share those so we can make this the strongest process it can be. And then I just want to close by saying, again, a huge thank you to the three folks that applied. As I hope everyone saw tonight, this was a difficult decision. So thank you. And I hope to see you stay involved as well.
The other thing that I would remind is that students are welcome to come to these meetings. Even if they're not the student representative, they can be here. They're fun, right?
Oh, they're so fun.
Yeah.
Yes.
They can also watch them remotely.
Or watch them remotely.
That happens every
Absolutely.
month in my house.
Absolutely. Thank you very much. And thank all of the applicants for this process. And hopefully this will be an improvement to the board and the school district.
Thanks, Brooke, very much.
Thank you very much.
Thank you for including me.
Any other comments or questions about this process? All right, on to the KBCS Williams and McCullough.
Yeah, we typically approve co-op agreements, and we have other things for Kings Valley and swim team as another desired agreement.
Everything. We're all good with this?
Yep, Tony was the one that submitted the paper trail
Just need to approve it?
to do it, so.
I move that we approve the request from Kings Valley Charter School to do for the co-op with the swim team. Presented in our.
I will second that.
Been moved and seconded. Any discussion? All in favor? Opposed? Approved unanimously, 4 votes and 1 absent. All right, medication, we have a policy.
The policy in there, the only thing that has changed in it is it's added Narcan or naloxone to the language within the policy that, if you recall, we had approved back in the spring. And so all it does is it brings the policy in line to allow for the use and appropriate training. So that's the only thing that changes within that, is to add the appropriate drug into the policy information.
I move that we approve policy JHCDAAR as it is outlined in our packet.
Second.
Any discussion? There's been a motion. All in favor? Any opposed? We can pass 4-0, 1 absent. Superintendent's evaluation.
This was something that Director Wells asked to be put on the agenda. One of his sessions at the School Boards Association meeting had to do with superintendent evaluation. And he ended up talking to one of the OSBA staff, Steve Kelly. And we have used OSBA in the past to assist with superintendent evaluations. And so his request was that the board consider the use of OSBA again this year for purposes of completing my evaluation. I want to say that he mentioned that it would be about $750, I believe, in the information. And so it's not something.
It said cap of $850.
Okay.
Total invoice expenses shall not exceed $850 and was approved in advance by the school board.
Okay, and thank you, I appreciate that. And he just wanted to put that out in front of, with not necessarily an expectation that it be done every year with the OSBA, but wanting to be able to take a look this year at using them to be able to help support.
Did you read through it?
I did.
Okay. Chris, did you get to read through it?
I got a head nod and
Okay,
a thumbs up, so.
So now, is this something we need to make a decision on tonight, or is this just a discussion item for tonight?
It could be either, you know, depending upon what you want to do.
I'd sort of like to hear Rick's take on it in person. If it's not a problem postponing the decision until December, in terms of contracting with them, I'd sort of like to hear Rick's take on it.
Looks like they just have a deadline, suggested deadlines of December or January, so January could potentially work. I mean, I did not go to this session specifically, but I just would voice that I'm in favor of a more formal superintendent evaluation that has some sort of kind of third-party element. I do remember giving feedback last year that the evaluation that we did as a board didn't necessarily make people feel like they were comfortable in voicing all of their concerns. So I feel like we need to give people a chance to have an opportunity to give.
Oops, sorry, did I interrupt someone?
Yeah, no, you're fine.
I guess I would just like to maybe wait and talk about this next month if we can get Rick here, and just hear a little more of his thoughts. Yeah.
Only, 3 weeks out from our next meeting, because we moved it.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, that would be my preference as well. Because I get, one of my questions would be how is the data collected? I sort of got a sense of it from this, the target, but it still was a little bit like, how do we choose who gets served? How did they choose, or how is it chosen who gets surveyed? And they're talking about a total of 50. They're looking for roughly a total of 50 responses, I thought, mixed between staff and administration and community. Was that what? Something like that, yeah. I'm assuming no more than 50 participants. The number is significantly higher than the time estimates may be increased accordingly. Okay. Yeah, I would say let's discuss it at the December meeting, if that's okay with people.
Yep, I can do that. A thumbs up.
Okay, all right, so we will table that to continue to. New paid leave Oregon Act, we've already discussed it.
Yeah, but there's no decision we need to reach. We wanted to put it out there so that everybody knew. I mean, it's something we need to do. And so I think in our overzealousness to get it on the agenda, we hit it everywhere.
Fair enough.
Make sure you shop it.
We are to meeting closure. Board updates and information. Anything from board members?
Yeah. I think we would speak for all of us again when we thank everyone for the vote on our levy. Very much appreciated support for education in our community. I know that Christopher probably could speak more eloquently to that, as he sort of helped lead that charge for us as a independent person.
Well, yeah, sorry, I couldn't quite hear what you were saying, so I wasn't sure if we were on board. Thanks. But yes, I know it's been mentioned a lot tonight, but a big thank you to all the voters of the Philoma School District, as well as those folks that were really involved in making sure that levy got the support that it did. I think right now it's sitting at something like 72.5% yes votes, which I think is wonderful because it passed, but obviously we didn't need 72% to pass it. So I think what I really like about that number is it shows beyond just the levy a huge level of support and care for students and schools in the community. And I think that we can never take that for granted, but we are very fortunate to have that. And now it's on us to make sure that we continue to take that support and that trust and turn it into opportunities for students for the next 5 years. So I look forward to working on that with you all, and to hearing from our community with any feedback or hopes they have for that. But thank you for helping get that across the finish line and for investing in students.
So that's impressive. That's where I was going to go, of course, also with thanks, is almost a 3-to-1 yes vote from the community, which shows such a strong support for our school system. And we wouldn't be able to do the things we're doing without it. So any other board things?
I just want to make sure everybody sees at the bottom of the agenda that High School Musical is up and running at Fulton High School, and one of the cast members joined us after opening night tonight in the audience here. So thank you so much for that. And hopefully we'll see lots of faces there. If anybody would like to help volunteer ticket taking, I think they still might need some volunteers. I can email me on my district email address. I can forward the sign-up sheet to you. That's it for me.
I want to thank the school district again for sending us to the OSBA conference. It's just inspiring to be in that group of educators and school board members alike, and I appreciate the district willing with that professional development for the board as well, so that we can meet our district goals.
Anything else? Any additional agenda items for next meeting that haven't already been discussed?
Not an additional agenda item per se, but we did discuss having a work session to talk about the high school scheduling things. So whatever the official words for that are, I have run out of words. We all know what I mean. So I don't know when we could get that scheduled, but sometime between now and January, probably, which I know is not very many weeks. So maybe in January will be when it has to happen, honestly. We've almost run out of weeks before January, which is a frightening concept for me.
Our board meeting for December is the 12th, so that's one of the things to note as far as it's a Monday meeting, earlier than normal because of everything that's going on in December. So for those that are interested in either tuning in or being here, Monday, December 12th, 7 p.m. regular board meeting, December board meeting. Anything else? I guess any board requests? I guess we are adjourned. All right. 8:46, 8:47 p.m.
Thanks for running the meeting, Jill.
Very much. Bernie, we'll go back to having.
Thank you.
Yeah, thanks for joining us from Hawaii, Christopher.
Jason.
Troublemaker.
I was there yesterday.
I know, you guys are your wild vacation. You just traded spots.
Thank you.
Like on a submarine when they have to hot swap the bunks.
I was Wednesday to Wednesday, so yesterday was a travel day. I got up at about 5:30. Oh, wow. And I got up at 11. Was there anything this morning?
Yeah, I'll pass it along.
Susan, you're still sharing your,
Yeah, shot.
your screen.
That's fine.
Yeah, take care.
Okay, share.
Decide next month since I.
Okay, you're there.
Okay, I'll leave you.
Thank you so much.
Sure.
It was my fault.
Yeah.
It wasn't anything. to
We
do.
were on Kauai
I'm recording.
and.
In part.
See that?
All in your.